Hello. Today I'm going to do a quick little video on how to do a search on Google Images, and how I'm going to present this is showing my students how they could find a specific photograph that they're looking at to narrow down their search from being very, very general to being very specific. And then also how to copy and paste an image into a Google Slides presentation. Because in my class, an assignment I give frequently is for my students to do a research project, and then one of the ways they can present their research is using a Google Slides presentation. And I always tell them, make sure you dress it up with lots of pictures and images and whatnot to make it more interesting. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hypothetically say that the research topic is they have to do some kind of thing that deals with World War II, which is a huge subject that I teach in my class. So where we're going to go is they're going to have to try to find some images for World War II. So let's walk through the steps of that process. So to begin with, make sure that they're logged on to Google. And then here under images, you don't even have to go to the grid for this. It says images right here. Just they click this, and you'll notice the change right away. It even says images underneath Google. And since the assignment is World War II, let's start with the very general and work our way into the specific. So let's go to World War II. And here are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of World War II pictures that they would get, and all different topics and varieties. So they could spend a lot of time scrolling through and, oh, this looks kind of good and this looks kind of good here, but they would probably want to be specific about the incident in World War II that they're talking about. And you can see how vast this is just by looking around at some of the things that have come up. That's a picture from the D-Day invasion. This is the flag raising at Iwo Jima. These are some British soldiers. They're not even Americans. This is the famous victory kiss at the end of the war against the Japanese. There's a picture of Hitler. So they have this whole vast array of pictures they can pick from. Now, where images start streamlining things is if they go up to these tabs right here, they categorize some of these. So, for example, let's say that they wanted to talk about Pearl Harbor. So they would just click on this and give it a second. And then here are all sorts of different pictures about Pearl Harbor. And here's some famous ones that you usually see a lot on stories or articles about Pearl Harbor. So they have all these they can pick from. And then they decide, oh, maybe we don't want to do Pearl Harbor. So all you have to do is hit the back button out. And we can even get more specific and say that maybe there's something about the British Army that interested them. So they could click on this, and all that would come up is pictures of the British Army or Winston Churchill. It wouldn't be the Americans. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that after they do their exploration, they really want to do a report on D-Day, the D-Day invasion. So here's where they can start getting more specific, and this is where the Google Images allows them to do that. So where they want to click on is Settings, and they want to go under this tab here that says Advanced Search. And right here, it says all these words, and that's what we'll be looking for right here. But let's do this instead. Let's keep the category World War II, but then underneath this, let's put D-Day. And then clicking on that on the advanced search would still be very, very broad. So let's narrow it down here. And then it's under here where they're able to find a lot of different things as far as to really narrow down the scope of the search. So let's say that we want to find some large photos. And this is the thing I really, really like. I like these two things here. I like the aspect ratio because it even allows, it'll even filter through what type of photograph or what type of image that you're looking for. And why don't we click on panoramic? Let's see if there's any big, wide panoramic photos they can find. And you even get a choice of what kind of colors. You can just do a whole search for any color. You can look just for color photos. Now with the D-Day, there's no color photos of D-Day that exist because there just weren't any taken that day. So what they might want to go with, just to narrow it down, is just go to black and white. And then the type of image is, you can have a bunch of different to pick from, would be photo, clip art, all these different things. But let's go with photo. And why don't we see what this brings up? So after they've gone through the filtering, anything that they want to do to filter it out, here is the advanced search. They hit that advanced search button at the bottom. And here we have all images about D-Day. And you can just tell just by looking at these look very panoramic. These are very wide scope. This would really make a good maybe introductory photograph to a Google Slides presentation. And they can scroll through and see which one they really, really like and which one looks pretty good to them. And so there's a lot of good ones here. Notice they're all in black and white. They all look iconic, very, very panoramic in nature. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we want to see if there's any that are in full color. So we'll go under there and see. And here they are. There are some, but what you have here, as you can tell, here's a mixture. This is from Saving Private Ryan, so that's a movie photo. Here's a lot of video games, because there just weren't any color photos taken that day. These would all be reenactments. That's even from a movie called Dunkirk that has nothing even to do with the Normandy invasion. So this is definitely not the best choice here. So let's go back to the black and white, because those were really good pictures. Okay, so we're back to this. So now, as they scroll through, and let's say, well, this one looks pretty good. So why don't we click on that one? And now they decide, yep, we like that one. That looks pretty good. Or actually, yeah, why don't we'll go with this one. All right, here's some soldiers about ready to hit the beach in the landing craft. So this is definitely an arresting image. It would look good on a Google Slides presentation. So it's very quick process, very, very simple process here. They would just go ahead and right click and copy the image, and then go over here. I already had a Google Slides tab open, and let's just say that this is my introductory slide. So I would type D-Day, and why don't I center that and make it maybe even a little bit bigger font size. So I would make it really big. And then in this box down here, all they have to do is paste that photo, and you can see it right there. Now we'd have to adjust it a little bit because of that. Well, actually, my font's maybe a little bit too big. Maybe I might want to stick with that smaller font. But here is a very, very, that's just a way to do it. So then that pastes the picture in right there, very panoramic, and they can, as they size it down, they can always play with the size to make it look a little bit better. But that's the rough idea how to do it. So instead of just scrolling through all these endless photos of World War II, using the advanced search in Google Images, they're able to really, really narrow it down. Let's just do one more very, very quick one. So let's go over to this tab here. And the commander of that day was Eisenhower. So actually, whoops, I'm ahead of myself here. Why don't we go back to this? Go back to World War II. And then why don't we go back to our advanced search? And underneath this, we type in Dwight Eisenhower. And then for Eisenhower, let's say that we're looking for, we want a large icon of him, and we'll look for any color. And why don't we say that we maybe want to make it tall, and we want to look for a photo. And then here's another thing too. Actually, this is what I was looking for right here. Under this heading, let's look for a specific picture of him to see if there's a really good face shot of him. So let's just type it in there, see what comes up. And here are a whole bunch of pictures of Dwight Eisenhower. So these would all be, now some of these are when he was not a general. This is when he was a president. So if we were doing a report on World War II, we'd probably want to look for one where he's in an army uniform, so he looks like a general. And that one looks good right there. So why don't we do the same thing? We would right click, and we'd go over here to our Google Slides and go into this part. And over on this side, we'll copy that. And then here we'd have to size it up a little bit. And then we could go over and label to the side that this was Dwight Eisenhower, and we could add a subtitle and say something like, Supreme Allied Commander on D-Day, something of that nature. But that's how they would do it. But that's where Google Images really is handy, as far as we can come in with being able to really go from being general with looking for images, looking for photographs, to really narrowing down your search. So hopefully that helps as far as how to do a Google imaging search to get from the general to the specific. And hopefully that was a helpful presentation.